Okay, so it's not looking that great right now. Sofi reported earnings yesterday. By the way, the numbers were great, record numbers. They crushed it across the board. Guidance was awesome, but the stock, well, didn't hold the gains. And now we're down about 6% the day after earnings, as the entire stock market's down as well after we got some pretty bad GDP data this morning, which we have to cover. So, guys, jam-packed video. Hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. And, of course, take a sip of your coffee. Cheers, by the way, and join that free email stock newsletter, which is linked down below. I send out my top stocks weekly, again, for free. So make sure you guys get in there. So it's about 12:30, 12:45 p.m. on the East Coast right now, and we have SoFi stock down 6%. And earlier this morning, we were down like 8-9%. We almost went under $12 a share. We hit 12.05. Now we're at 12.45, 12.50. And look at these indexes. It's not pretty, man. And mind you, the indexes have rebounded a little bit intraday, and they're still down across the board. The S&P's down 1%, the Dow's down 0.75%, 0.6% roughly, QQQ's down 1.2%, and the Russell's down 1.4%. And again, that's with a nice bounce back intraday. I mean, look, SPY at one point was down about 2.5%. QQQ at the worst was down. Let's see, we hit 462, so we were down like 2.7, 2.8% at the lowest. So, yeah, not the best day for stocks right now. And by the way, we're heading into the aftermarket here soon, where we're getting Meta and I believe Microsoft. Then tomorrow we have Apple and Amazon. So big tech companies are about to report earnings. Man, it's about to get real. And definitely expect a lot of more, volatility or some big fluctuations here in the market over the next hour, a couple of hours, quite frankly, as again, these earnings are coming today. So looking at SoFi, like we mentioned, the company crushed EPS, crushed revenue, record revenue. I'm pretty sure they grew by 30% year over year. They crushed products, right? That hit a record. Members record high across the board. They raised guidance, and the stock just can't hold the gains. And I got a lot of comments yesterday. What's going on with SoFi? They crushed earnings. Why is the stock going down? What the heck's going on? And that's a question that nobody can really answer 100%, right? That's the thing with the stock market, guys. Companies can report great numbers, awesome guidance. The stock could go up a little bit, but hey, sometimes it goes red afterwards. That's just how the market works. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, and you can't really put your finger on it, you just can't. And the reality is, maybe SoFi went up too much heading into earnings. I don't know. I mean, the stock was at $8 a couple of weeks ago. We got all the way to $14.50. We were up 80% at one point shortly after earnings from the lows. Maybe that was just way too much. Maybe, the earnings weren't good enough to push this thing to $15, $16, $17 yet. Keyword is yet. I still think we're going there, but it might take some time. But yeah, I mean, the reality is you just can't put your finger on why a stock is selling off after good earnings. And even though it is selling off after great earnings, guys, we're still up on this 5-day, 5-minute, slightly off the lows from a couple of days ago. We're still up on this 30-minute chart. You guys can see we're still holding an uptrend, right? We're up a good chunk off the lows on this time frame, about 20%. And on the 1-hour time frame, you can see clearly we're holding an uptrend still. We're above the 180 SMA on this time frame. The trend looks beautiful still. And I mean, at this point, on this time frame at least, it simply looks like SoFi is cooling off a little bit. it might have got a bit overbought. You know, we hit 1450, very overbought on the RSI. The stock was up. Forget about how much it was up from the lows earlier in April. Just in the last week, it's up around 35%, or it was at that point when we hit 1450 after earnings. So it makes sense we're cooling off a little bit. Not the end of the world. And I'm not freaking out or anything, right? Because overall, the trend is still holding. It's not like we're selling off and completely breaking trend here. That would not be good. That would not be ideal. We're selling off a little bit, but we're holding trend. We'll see if that, maintains, or if that remains to be the case here. You know what I mean? And overall, we're seeing the nice bounce off the intraday low, which happens to be right where we're bouncing here on the trend line on the 1 hour chart. So we held $12, $12.25 this morning, and now we're starting to rally. That's as much as the bulls could ask for right now. And overall, on the 4 hour chart, guys, we're still breaking out. We're still above the moving averages. We still have a golden cross. So let's keep an eye on it. Let's monitor it. And overall, man, I think if we had a green day in the stock market, if we didn't get this GDP data today, I think SoFi might be up on the day, or it wouldn't nearly be as red as it is right now. What do you guys think about that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And speaking of that GDP data, I believe it was the worst data we've gotten in a couple of years. I think I was reading in 3 years. I could be wrong. Make sure to correct me in the comments if I am wrong here, guys. But we got ADP on top of the GDP. We got the ADP non-farm employment change, which came in at 62,000, well under that 114,000 expected. So that's not great. It says, or this measures rather, the ADP non-farm employment change. It measures the estimated change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industry and government. So, yeah, 62,000, under that forecast of 114,000. And the GDP number month over month, or this is in Canada. Well, I guess, we're not a Canadian-focused channel, but that came in at minus 0.2, so negative 0.2. The forecast was 0 for Canada, GDP-wise, month over month. That's not good for Canada. And the U.S. advanced GDP number, which measures the annualized change in the inflation-adjusted value of all the goods and services produced by the economy. This came in at minus 0.3%, and the forecast was for 0.2% growth. Think about that. Not ideal, not ideal. And while this is quarter-over-quarter data, it's reported in an annualized format. So quarterly change times 4. That's how you obviously calculate that. And if you didn't know, there are 3 versions of the GDP released a month apart. So this one's the first one. It's the advanced GDP. Then we have the preliminary. Then we have the final. And the advanced release is the earliest and tends to have the most impact, right? Because, we're kind of getting an initial taste of the number here, and then we'll get the preliminary and final to get some more insights there as time goes on. But yeah, that's a big reason why we are dropping right now. Very bad advanced GDP number showing the economy is weakening a little bit right now, which is putting some pressure on the stock market and, of course, a bunch of other stocks out there, not just the indexes, but a lot of individual stocks, obviously, which comprise these indexes. A lot of individual stocks are down a lot more than the indexes, SoFi being one of them, right? Even though they reported great numbers. And if somehow, some way, SoFi gets back to the single digits, I don't see why it would, especially if markets hold up, decently here in the short term. I don't see why it can or would. But if it somehow gets back to the single digits, I'll be buying more SoFi. But for now, I'm just holding on to my position here, and I'm comfortable to do that as I have been holding on and accumulating shares at the right prices, or at least levels that I think are the right prices, right? I've been doing this for about a year and a half now with Sofi at least. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my Patreon if you want to keep up with what I'm doing in my portfolio. Plus, there's more on the Patreon. And if you want to join the free email stock newsletter, all of those links are down below. And with that being said, cheers. I'll catch you in the next video.